Hey, it's Jonesy. I'm defending Saw in a certain amount of time that I'll input here. Okay, dude, Jigsaw is like after me, cause did you hear that noise? It's the third time that's happened and I'm freaked out because I'm home alone with my dog. I don't know if you know that famous YouTube channel that always like says everything wrong with insert movie here in less than blah blah blah. Well, I watched Saw the other day. I love Saw. Saw is the best horror movie I've ever seen. Maybe. And my friends and I are obsessed with it, so one of them sent me that video of everything wrong with Saw in 8 minutes or less, and I was like, okay. And then I watched it and half of it was like, how did they not understand what that is? I understand what that is. So here we go. Disclaimer, spoilers, first of all. Spoilers. Second of all, these are my fan theories, not like official debunkings of these. So this is my fan theory defending Saw, my favorite movie. I mean, I love Saw, don't get me wrong, I love Saw.
How long has Adam been in this water? How is he not already dead from drowning?
I'd say probably no longer than 2 minutes. I'd say that Jigsaw put him there, laid down, and just like let the water do the work. Because obviously, if you're unconscious and in water, it's gonna take a few tries for you to wake up. You're not just gonna like die. Your lungs are gonna fill with water a couple times as you go, and then you're gonna go, and you wake up and you do that like Adam did.
You won't know it's a key until much later in the movie when you've already forgotten whatever it was.
I recognized that was a key. I was like, that's a little pen-like key looking thing, and it went down the drain. That's gonna be important later, and I don't know why it's here now.
Why did Adam get placed in water while Lawrence is sitting here dry as a bone?
If Lawrence woke up before Adam, which I assume that he did not, I think Jigsaw did not want Lawrence to know that there was more than one person in the room at first. So Lawrence had about 2 minutes to himself to be like, oh my god, I don't know what's happening, before Adam goes, what's up? So it was more of a theatrical thing than like a dry versus wet symbolism.
Nobody would be cracking wise in this situation.
That's who Adam is. Have you never joked about something terrible because you feel terrible? When terrible things happen, you try to make jokes to make it lighter. I mean, that's all he's doing, because what else would you do if you're trapped in a room? He's only got so many options. He could cry and scream, or he can make a joke about it. I don't see the big deal.
I know this tape was protected from the water by the plastic baggie, but how did Jigsaw know the tape wouldn't be smashed between his body and the bottom of the tub? Or on the tile when he fell to the ground?
It's a tape. It's a cassette tape. I have a cassette tape right here, actually. Look at this. This is much bigger than theirs, obviously, but it doesn't just break. It doesn't break if you just sit on it. It's not fragile. It's made to be durable. Here, I'll show you this clip I found of a dude smashing a cassette tape. It took him a while. He failed a lot. I mean, it's this big, but they're still not gonna smash it. It needs force to be smashed. If it falls on the floor, it's gonna be fine.
What would happen if Adam and Lawrence never figured out how to get the tape player? How long would Jigsaw have waited to get up from the floor?
They're gonna get the tape to work. If not, they'll starve. They'll starve to death. I'd say that if they didn't get the tapes to work, that Jigsaw would probably play it over the speaker. Like, it wouldn't be great. Like, it wouldn't be his big theatrical plan, but that's the only way it would go through. Like, he probably has a backup with Zep.
What if Lawrence throws like a girl?
First of all, sexism. Second of all, I feel like if Jigsaw knew everything about these dudes, he knows how Lawrence throws, probably. And also, he probably gave their chains a wide enough range to where unless Lawrence literally throws like back here, he's gonna make it in the range of Adam. Like, at least at first, because I know that became like a terrible thing later on.
Adam is a little too helpful to the guy who's been challenged to kill him.
They're human beings. They're not gonna have a natural, I mean, we have a natural competitive instinct, but we also have the instinct of trying to work together to save our souls. If you also factor in the fact that Adam knows about Lawrence, he knows he has a wife and kid. If Adam doesn't die, the wife and the kid do. And Adam doesn't want the wife and the kid to, but he doesn't want him to. So he's being helpful because he has the natural human instinct of, we need to keep everyone alive, and I don't want to die, and you don't want to die, and you don't want your kids to die, and I don't want a child to die. So they're like, maybe we can put our clues together and best this thing because also Adam's kind of a smartass who thinks he knows everything. I'd help out the guy that was trying to kill me, especially if he didn't seem overtly aggressive immediately. Like, if he seemed as, like, freaked out as I was and, like, was like, I can't kill this man, then I would be like, this man, I'm not a man. Then I would be like, okay, like, then let's work together and do this thing.
Or is this a character rewinds tape and stops it at the perfect moment they were looking for in one try cliche?
Do you really, really want to watch someone rewind a tape for, like, 2 minutes just to get to the right part? Like, cliches happen because movies take time, and you can't take all your time doing arbitrary things.
And this kid has never heard of him? Like, ever?
I believe it. Like, killed 3 people at that point, and that's barely that's barely serial murder status. I mean, it's weird murders, don't get me wrong, they're very strange. But if Adam's kind of a low-life grubber dude who didn't seem to have access to, like, the internet and didn't seem to care about news, I don't see why he'd know about it.
Technically speaking, he's not really a murderer. He never killed anyone.
No. Yeah, he's a murderer.
Yeah, but the whole thing is he's not actually the one doing the killing. That's the point that Lawrence is trying to make, is he's like, all these people, they end up killing themselves based off of these traps that Jigsaw sets. So it's not like, oh, he's not trying to be caught and found and tried as a murderer. It's just that, like, ideally Jigsaw is not going to kill either of them, they're going to kill each other.
The surgeon with this office and this home only has one car.
I believe it. I really do, because first of all, their house is really nice, and they're probably house poor. Parking garage fees, like, they're in an apartment, and it seems like I'd say like a Boston type town. So I can believe that they just have one car more for convenience, because there's probably like a subway or like a tram or something in the city.
How did the detectives figure out that this was his pen light? How did Lawrence even know it was his?
It's probably not specifically his, but it's probably a brand that he uses a lot. It probably freaked him out to be like, oh my gosh, that's like the type of pen light that I use. You know how police are like, I know everything, you might as well admit it, but they don't know everything? I think that's one of those situations.
Cops do not let recently exonerated suspects eavesdrop on official witness testimony.
I agree with that. They don't let them do that. I thought the whole Amanda scene was awesome. I don't think of another way that it could have been done without being like, okay, let's bring it to Amanda now in the studio.
Why did this chick get a video from Jigsaw and everyone else got audio tape?
She got a video because she could not use her hands. She could not put a tape in a thing. She's not going to spend her 60 seconds listening to an audio tape when she needs to be rolling.
How did she not hear him moaning or see him moving his head in time? Are they saying she did hear him moan and didn't even flinch?
She did hear him moaning, and she saw his eyes moving, but she did not care. She went to town because she valued her life. You don't have time to pause. She knew that. She's like, I have 60 seconds to do this. There's also, like, she's an addict, so she probably can recognize another addict by the way that they operate. And that dude was overdosed on opiates, I believe. And so he probably shown signs of that, and she was like, oh, he can't feel this. He's fine. So there's probably that quick, like, his eyes are moving, opiates.
This article is about a boy who died in an explosion playing with goofy clay. This article's an ACLU story about people being followed by public and private agents.
Are you really gonna take your time? Saw was like a $700,000 budget film, which is very not much for such a huge production. So they're not gonna take the time to, like, write new newspaper clippings. Nobody except for the guy who made this video is like, it says UCLA.
There's never a point in the video when the camera moves like this, or is silent enough to isolate a fire alarm in the distance without other sounds interfering.
I don't think he played that part. I think when the police found the tape, they took it and they played it, and then there was this after part that was probably specifically for the police. When they went to his hideout, there was a dude there dying. So that seems more like a setup than, like, because I don't think Jigsaw would have multiple operations going on at once unless they were specifically connected to something, because Zepp was obviously connected to Adam, who was connected to Lawrence. Well, I guess Zepp was connected to Lawrence, who was connected to Adam, and then that man was connected to the police, who were gonna come.
Why is this the only place in the building that has something like that rigged?
He didn't expect anyone to be there when he wasn't there, or when somebody wasn't watching over it. Like, if he sets a whole bunch, maybe he'll just Jigsaw himself.
This was meant to receive calls, not make them.
Yeah, but telephone law requires all phones to be able to dial 911 regardless of their limitations.
Yeah, I agree with this. One time I had a phone when I was like 8 it was my dad's old flip phone. Gave it to me, had no cell service or anything. I called 911 one time because I was like, oh, this is the only phone number I know by heart. And they're like, 911, what's your? I was like, and I have since learned that you're not supposed to do that.
Super smart serial killer has every angle covered, except for decent audio.
He's a dying cancer patient. He's not gonna have the best quality stuff. He's not endlessly rich. All the other stuff that he's used for the past things have been pretty cheap if you think about them. Barbed wire, razors, a candle, a safe, and it was like a clunky safe, a marker, the bear trap thing he made himself, like human bodies. It's all cheap, you know? He's not gonna, like, the security camera was like the most he's ever spent on like any, well, I guess the TV and the little puppet dude, now that I think about it. But TV is still kind of outdated, looked like it used a VHS tape and not like a DVD. So he's still using outdated stuff, so he's not gonna have great audio.
And for that matter, how does Lawrence just assume that the killer's microphone won't pick up whispering?
He didn't assume, but it's worth a shot, don't you think? When you got nothing else, you're like, boy, I hope this camera doesn't pick up all this noise I'm making, and then you whisper.
Maybe before you come up with your super sneaky plan to pretend to have him get poisoned by a cigarette, you could have made sure he wasn't the world's worst actor.
I think he was doing that a little bit, not to be serious. Like, I think he was doing it a little bit because he was like, Lawrence, your plan sucks, but I'm going to try to go along with it, see what happens, but I'm not taking it seriously.
How did they get this picture of Zepp peeking through the window when he only did that this afternoon and only Tapp could have taken it?
I think that Jigsaw got it placed in there because I bet that he has some sort of access to, like, Danny Glover's whole thing, like, because he saw it on his TV, so I bet it was, like, specifically placed in there to, like, give them some context. He was probably like, hey, Zepp, come out by the window, I'll take a picture of you. Because, I mean, he had access to Adam's camera because he kidnapped Adam. I think it was just Jigsaw just being like, hey, you want to pose for my pic? I'm going to put it in.
Them tied them up and then went and set up all this computer and camera equipment in the doctor's house. What if the doctor doesn't pay his Comcast bill? Or he has to dial up?
Well, he's a doctor. Probably look up, like, electricity bill files if you're Jigsaw and guess that I could probably set up a security camera in his house and it would be fine.
Also, is it f***ing daylight right now? Was it not pitch black nighttime just 4 minutes ago when the killer and Danny Glover were driving to the torture shack?
They live in an apartment building, there's probably street lights. There's probably lights outside. In the driving scene into the middle of nowhere, there's not going to be any lights. You know why? Because it's in the middle of nowhere.
An aging, coughing cancer patient manages to lie still for that length of time?
My theory is that just like he pulled his face off, he also had a thick body on him, like a casing, so that he could breathe without looking like he's moving. You know what I mean? So like he has like kind of a shell, so even if he breathes inside the shell, it still looks like there's a shell. I'm sure if you're not necessarily going through chemo, there's probably something to reduce uncomfortableness that just doesn't take away your cancer that he probably took, or maybe he took some kind of like sleeping pill that made him like maybe half conscious, so he was like not able to cough, because you don't really cough when you're unconscious.
Can I just not buy this for a second? Like, the whole reason why Lawrence is here is because he's supposedly cheating on his wife. However, Lawrence and Carla have not begun the affair yet.
It's not that he didn't cheat on his wife. He planned to. There's two types of cheating on people. There's the unplanned and the planned. Unplanned is, in the grand scheme of cheating, more forgivable. Heat of the moment, you're drunk, they're drunk. Please don't have sex when you're drunk because that can get funky. You see them, you forget, you know, just thousands of terrible excuses, but none that you're unhappy consciously. But planning to cheat is thousands of times worse. Lawrence booked the hotel room. He invited the girl there. They planned to do it. He set a time, he set a place, he set a date. He lied to his wife about where he was, intentionally, because he knew what he was about to do, and he was ready to do it. And even if he got to the point where he was there and he was like, I can't do this, all of the other steps were in place. And that is just as bad, if not worse, because it's like, I'm so unhappy that I'm going to arrange someone else to sleep with tonight.
Also, didn't he sort of miss the best action by choosing to fake die facing the kid instead of the doctor?
Well, probably because he expected Lawrence to kill Adam, so he wanted to see Adam die. He wasn't thinking that Lawrence would cut his foot off. I knew as soon as I saw the saw and it wasn't working on the chain that he was gonna, one of them were gonna cut off their foot. But Jigsaw probably, I mean, he probably planned for the saws to be only able to cut through feet. Jigsaw was expecting for Adam to be the one dead by the end of the night, so he was gonna face him.
Key to that chain is in the bathtub.
Oh, so the key was never going to be found anyway.
Yeah, that's the whole point. It started at the beginning and it ended at the end. Like, isn't that just great? Like, he was gonna get out and you were like, yes, my baby's gonna get out. Baby Adam, who I fell in love with over the course of this movie, he's gonna be free because he survived. And then he's like, oh yeah, the key's in the thing. And you're like, oh my God, kill me. Because it's so terrible. It's such a terrible feeling when you're like, oh my God, he's dead. He's dead. He's gonna die in there. He closed the door on him. He's like, no. And Lawrence was like, I'm not gonna leave you here. And I was like, no. And then Jigsaw walked out. And I was like, no, he's gonna catch Lawrence because Lawrence only has one foot. That's me debunking everything that dude hated about Saw. All the debunks. Every debunk. Debunking. Everywhere. I defend. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see me defend more movies that I really, really like, that people are like, this is a gross movie, just let me know. If you have any movies that have necessarily seen that you're like, everybody hates this movie, but I love this movie, I will defend that movie. I will watch it unless I hate it. If I hate it, I hate it. And then I'm like everybody else. If I love that movie, I will defend it to the ends of the earth. So thank you so much for watching again. Hopefully you can get through this whole thing. I will see you cats later, but until then, this is Jonesy, signing out. Bye.